2024, Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman entered the 2024 World Series hobbling on a sprained ankle, yet somehow felt invincible. Dodgers versus Yankees. Wondering which star would shine? It was Freeman who turned October into his personal highlight reel. He hit a walk-off grand slam in Game 1, the first ever in World Series history, to stun New York. Then he homered in Games 2, 3, and 4, becoming the first player ever to homer in the first 4 games of a World Series. Freeman finished the series batting point .30 with 4 home runs and a record-tying 12 RBIs, all in just 5 games. Why MVP? Because while Ohtani smashed a 50-50 season and Aaron Judge slugged Titanic tape measure shots, Freeman delivered when it mattered most, often injured, always calm. Personality, quiet veteran, clubhouse anchor, underrated until the moment demanded excellence. Dodgers had spent over $1 billion in the offseason, but still carried postseason ghosts. His clutch swing in the Bronx clinched a comeback 7-6 win in Game 5, a deficit overcome in the wildest clincher imaginable. Emotionally, he carried more than an ankle. He carried expectations, pressure, and redemption. That MVP wasn't just awarded. It was earned swing by swing, clutch by clutch, even when his foot was begging him to stop. Headlines fade, Freeman's October will echo. 1956, Don Larsen. Don Larsen's 1956 regular season was charitably fine. He went 11-5 with a 3.26 ERA. Nobody was writing poetry about him. Then came October 8th, and Larsen authored the greatest one-game performance baseball has ever seen. A perfect game in Game 5 of the World Series. 27 up, 27 down. No walks, no hits, no base runners. Against a Brooklyn Dodgers team stacked with Hall of Famers. And he did it in Yankee Stadium with the whole world watching. Why MVP? Because when you do something no one else has ever done, and still hasn't, that's the definition of value. Larsen didn't just pitch well. He turned a series knotted at 2-2 into a spiritual moment. The Yankees won the series in 7, and Larsen got the trophy that said, "You mattered most." Personality-wise, he wasn't Koufax. He wasn't Gibson. He was a 6'4" journeyman with a drinking habit and an inconsistent delivery who, for one day, became perfect. The iconic image, Yogi Berra sprinting into his arms, pure baseball mythology. Larsen's MVP wasn't about dominance over a series. It was one game that echoed through generations. The rest of his career, forgettable. But for one day, he was baseball. 2004, Manny Ramirez. The 2004 Red Sox didn't just win the World Series. They ended a curse, a dynasty, and decades of New England Therapyville. And while the team was full of heroes with bloody socks and shaved heads, the MVP? Manny Ramirez. He hit .412 in the series with a home run, 4 RBIs, and the constant aura of, did Manny even know what inning it was? Answer, it didn't matter. Because every time he stepped to the plate, chaos followed. Why MVP? Because while Ortiz got the walk-offs and Schilling got the headlines, Manny quietly and weirdly raked. He hit safely in all 4 games, torched the Cardinals pitching, and never looked stressed. This was peak Manny being Manny. Half artist, half mystery, all production. Boston was still exercising ghosts. Bucky Dent, Bill Buckner, that guy who traded Babe Ruth for a musical. And there was Manny, blending aloof charm with relentless contact. His MVP wasn't loud, it was inevitable. Emotionally, he was the counterbalance to all the angst. A reminder that baseball, even when historic, can still be fun. In the year the Red Sox finally buried 86 years of failure, it was the most unserious man on the team who got the last laugh. 1955, Johnny Podres. Imagine Spanish-language radio blackout in Brooklyn. A green 23-year-old lefty named Johnny Podres shut down the Yankees in Game 7, 2-0, on 2 days rest. No tricks, no buzzwords, just fastballs, curveballs, and calm guts. He wasn't Mickey Mantle or Duke Snider. He didn't swing a bat, he didn't hit 5 homers. He just went out and became the calmest man in Ebbets Field. Podres pitched complete games in both Game 3 and Game 7. giving the Dodgers their first ever World Series title and breaking the Yankees' yearly grip on baseball's silverware. His numbers: 2 complete game wins, 18 total innings, just 2 earned runs, and 0 panic. Brooklyn's reaction: pandemonium, tears, horns. Redemption after 7 failed tries against New York. Podres wasn't a star. He was a mechanic with nerves of ice and one great postseason. And that's why he won MVP. Because in 1955, when you needed a hero, it didn't have to be flashy. It just had to be effective. Podres was everything the Dodgers needed, and none of what the Yankees expected. They renamed a bridge after him in his hometown. Not a stadium, not a highway, a bridge, which feels about right. The man got Brooklyn across. 2023, Corey Seager. Corey Seager doesn't raise his voice. He just lets his bat do all the yelling. In 2023, he dragged the Texas Rangers, yes, the Rangers, to their first ever World Series title, and he did it like someone who'd done it before, because he had. Seager hit 286 in the 5-game series, with 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, and a game-tying nuke in Game 1 that completely flipped momentum. The Diamondbacks were leading and feeling frisky. Seager stepped in and broke them. Why MVP? Because when Texas needed a pulse, Seager offered cold-blooded power. This wasn't a hot streak. It was calculated destruction. He became just the 4th player in MLB history to win 2 World Series MVPs, and the first ever to do it for 2 different teams. The Rangers were historically a meme, spent decades losing in creative ways. Then Seager showed up fresh off a $325 million deal and made their postseason look inevitable. Emotionally, he was baseball's least interested assassin. No fist pumps, no screams, just swings that ended October. Seager's second MVP wasn't nostalgia, it was validation. He didn't just lift a franchise, he carved his name into Fall Classic granite calmly, 1 homer at a time. 1968, Mickey Lolich. Mickey Lolich looked like your uncle who fixes Buicks in the driveway while crushing 6 Budweisers. And in 1968, he beat Bob Gibson in Game 7. That alone earns him permanent MVP real estate. The Cardinals were defending champs, Gibson was untouchable, and Lolich? He just threw his 3rd complete game of the series and outdueled the most terrifying man in baseball. Lolich went 3-0 with a 1.67 ERA and pitched on just 2 days rest in the finale. No relief, no pitch counts, just donuts and dusters. Detroit had been down 3-1 in the series. Then Lolich took the ball and didn't blink. His belly jiggled under his jersey, his fastball danced just enough, and his heart rate apparently never changed. 1968, America was chaos. Martin Luther King and Robert F. Kennedy assassinated. Detroit smoldering from riots a year earlier, Vietnam raging. Baseball needed a blue-collar savior, and Lolich delivered. He was everything Bob Gibson wasn't, doughy, smiling, casual, and still outpitched him. Why MVP? Because in a year when pitchers ruled everything, one fat lefty in a Tigers cap took the game's crown from its scariest king. And then went back to being Mickey Lolich. Underrated, overlooked, unforgettable. 1988, Orel Hershiser. Orel Hershiser pitched like he didn't believe in pitch counts or human fatigue. In 1988, he basically carried the Dodgers like a guy dragging a refrigerator uphill. He'd already thrown 59 consecutive scoreless innings to end the regular season. Then in October, he just kept going. 2 complete games in the National League Championship Series. And in the World Series, pure domination. He threw a 3-hit shutout in Game 2, then closed out Game 5 with another complete game win. Final line: 18 innings, 17 strikeouts, 2 earned runs. Why MVP? Because he was the Dodgers' engine, soul, and whole damn rotation. Kirk Gibson hit the walk-off in Game 1, but Hershiser was the guy who made the whole miracle possible. Personality? Quiet, devout, robotic on the mound, but don't mistake silence for softness. Hershiser broke spirits with precision, not fire. Dodgers weren't supposed to beat Oakland's Bash Brothers. McGuire and Canseco looked like comic book villains. Hershiser looked like your CPA, and yet he dismantled them like an accountant at tax time. He didn't win with flash. He won with relentless excellence. That October, Orel Hershiser was more than just MVP. He was inevitability in cleats. 1993, Paul Molitor. Paul Molitor was 37, playing for his hometown Blue Jays, and swinging like a guy who knew this might be his last shot at immortality. And he didn't miss. In the 1993 World Series, Molitor hit .500. That's not a metaphor. He actually batted .500 with 12 hits, 2 doubles, 2 triples, 2 homers, and 10 runs scored. He became the first player in World Series history to record at least 2 of each extra base hit in a single series. Why MVP? Because every time the Phillies made it close, Molitor opened it back up. Game 3, 3 hits, including a home run. Game 6, 3 more hits, and the go-ahead RBI. The night ended with Joe Carter's iconic walk-off blast, but the series belonged to Molitor. His bat was GPS locked to every outfield gap. Storyline, a Hall of Fame caliber hitter who'd waited forever to play on this stage, finally letting it all rip. The Blue Jays were trying to prove 1992 wasn't a fluke. Molitor made sure 1993 wasn't either. Emotionally, it was like watching someone win a career's worth of battles in 1 week. Calm, clutch, Canadian-ish. Paul Molitor didn't just win MVP. He redefined what a late career peak could look like. 2001, Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling. In 2001, baseball gave us a World Series with more subplots than a Scorsese film. And at the center of it were 2 co-MVPs with matching scowls and filthy sliders, Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling. Facing the 116-win Yankees, still emotionally supercharged after 9/11, the Diamondbacks didn't just beat them, they bludgeoned them, thanks to 2 aces who refused to blink. Johnson went 3-0, including wins in Game 2, Game 6, and in relief in Game 7. Less than 24 hours after starting, Schilling, 3 starts, 21 innings, 26 strikeouts, 1 bloody sock short of myth. Why MVP? Because Arizona's manager Bob Brenly basically alternated between the two like a Mario Kart power-up. No one else touched the ball unless absolutely necessary. Together, they combined for 45 strikeouts and a sub 1.50 ERA across 38.2 innings. The world was raw. The Yankees were America's emotional stand-in. But Arizona, a franchise in its 4th year, beat them with pure pitching cruelty. Emotionally, this was justice for every non-coastal team. Johnson and Schilling weren't just dominant. They were baseball's version of 2 flamethrowers handed to a chess grandmaster. And when Luis Gonzalez blooped that single, they'd already won the war. 1971, Roberto Clemente. Roberto Clemente didn't just win MVP in 1971. He gave the World Series soul. The Pirates beat the Orioles in 7 games, but the series belonged to Clemente before the champagne popped. He hit .414 with 12 hits, drove in the go-ahead run in Game 7, and threw out base runners like he was hunting deer in Carolina. Every swing, every throw, every glare. Clemente turned baseball into theater, not stats, presence. It was his 12th All-Star season, but this was something else. He carried a Pittsburgh team that had no business pushing Baltimore that far. He played the entire series like a man possessed, by purpose, by pride, by ghosts. Why MVP? Because he was the best player on the field and the most human. This wasn't just about baseball. Clemente was already known as the league's most vocal Puerto Rican icon in a country that often ignored his brilliance. His MVP was a statement. You can't ignore him anymore. This was the Latin American arrival. This was grace and power wrapped in one jersey. Clemente's 1971 series was his masterpiece, and tragically, his last full postseason. He died just over a year later, delivering aid. But this was glory, loud and final. Also really quick, if you want to see our video about Clemente and his career, check out our video, Every MLB Player Who Had Rules Made to Stop Them. Thanks, guys. 2016, Ben Zobrist. Ben Zobrist doesn't scream MVP. He's more like your buddy's super reliable older brother who somehow plays every position and always brings his glove. But in 2016, he was the steady heartbeat of a Cubs team carrying 108 years of emotional wreckage. Zobrist hit 357 in the World Series, but it was his Game 7 double in the 10th inning that cracked the curse wide open. With one swing, he gave Chicago a lead they wouldn't give back. Why MVP? Because while Chris Bryant grinned and Rizzo chewed gum like it was laced with Novocaine, Zobrist delivered the hit that mattered. Stats? 7 hits, 5 runs, that defining double. But this wasn't about numbers. It was about timing, calm, and closure. The Cubs were America's longest-running heartbreak. Steve Bartman, the GOAT, the Black Cat, Zobrist's double buried them all in one looped line drive. Emotionally, it was catharsis. For Cubs fans, for baseball, for every generational side. And Zobrist wasn't some rental. He'd done this before in Kansas City, but Chicago made it eternal. He didn't need to hit bombs or make diving catches. He just needed one perfect swing in the tensest inning of the century. That's how legends, quiet, clutch, cold-blooded, are made. The World Series MVP isn't just a trophy. It's a time capsule. Each name etched onto it tells a story of dominance, defiance, or dumbfounding brilliance. Sometimes it's a grizzled ace outdueling legends on fumes. Sometimes it's a utility guy hitting one double at the one exact moment a century needed it. And sometimes, if you're Don Larsen, it's just one game. 27 batters, no second chances. You've got Reggie's 3 swings, Clemente's silent thunder, Zobrist's quiet exorcism, and Corey Seager, twice, telling 2 different franchises, I got this. These MVPs weren't necessarily the best players of their generation, but for 1 week, 1 series, 1 freeze frame in time, they were undeniable. The stat lines matter, but what sticks is the feeling, the shock, the exhale, the image. Yogi jumping into Don's arms, Manny grinning through chaos, Freeman limping home with history in his cleats. It's not just who won, it's how they made us feel while doing it. Please sub. I'm gonna start posting every day. Thanks.